You're gonna lose your minds when you see the new area.
Yes.
Because you know.
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what's a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what draws behind the curtain, the face of evil lurking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make me get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make me get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Yo, microphone check, microphone check, microphone check. How are we doing today? Welcome to another episode, right? Word 'em up, word 'em up, word 'em up. Every Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern time. Go ahead and click that like button, share, notification bell, all that good stuff. Let's get the bow tie right there, because we're talking about mermaids today. Mermaids of all colors, shapes, sizes, and persuasions. Shout out to Black on Black in the building. We got Chuko Igwe in the house. Okay. And we're going to be getting joined by several panelists today to talk about this issue. I'm sure you have already heard of it, which is Ariel, the Little Mermaid, being played by a darker skinned, or shall we say brown skinned, as opposed to a pale skinned person whom people have come to know and love. And the issue is now, well, is this a question of just pure racism, or how much percentage of racism, how much percentage of the camel that broke the straw's back with regards to wokeism having too much power? How much is people just not liking change? Is it fair? And whatnot, all that kind of good stuff, right? So how's it going, Dr. K?
Well, it's good. What about you?
What's up
I
with
guess
your
you
mic?
put me on the.
It sounds like you crazy gain, but it's not actually gain. It just sounds like, well, yeah, the mic is not sounding
It's not sounding nice. Okay.
Okay, yeah. I think if you step back away from it a little bit,
What about now? Is it better or?
it's getting better. Like I think you just need to tone down your projection or whatever. It got sensitive, like
What
you have
about
a
now?
game thing. That's good.
Okay. Yeah, it's not bad. You put me on the white side of Ariel. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yes,
Put
yes,
yourself
yes, yes, yes.
on the
We know
black
how it
side.
is. I'm on the black side of things, and you're a white man. That is how it is. Uh, Nick Pin says, I think the mermaid should have stayed white. Okay. We want black Batman. Okay. This is what I like Nick. Okay. He's that open guy, Nick, laughing during the negotiations, right? He's not coming trying to pull your heartstrings, trying to make you feel guilty about something. He's like, I want black Batman. You know, you can have white Ariel back. Give me black Batman. I'm not going to talk about, well, maybe I should be creating my own images, right, or my own characters. But I would like black Batman. Okay. I'm gonna play a little clip, but I don't know what do you have to say about that comment of Nick Pin there. You share the same
Yeah.
sentiment with regards to him being open with these negotiations?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't necessarily care much for black man necessarily. You know, he hasn't got superpowers, but it's all right. It's all right. I get the negotiative play over there. I agree with him. Um, you want black Batman? Interesting. Or T'Challa. Why don't you have T'Challa from Wakanda forever?
Well, I think
Wakanda for
the actor passed away now, so I think
Oh right,
Bernard Riley was
yeah.
saying earlier that
They lost
he'll
a lot of
probably
money from
just
that.
have an off-screen death for him and then never
Yeah.
have him back again because he doesn't suit the agenda of the white women because they rather use black women in the woke agenda.
Oh yeah, but they've lost a lot of money. I feel sorry for Hollywood, man, because that was one of the few
I think
Marvel
it was too
films that
powerful.
was still
That's the other
good.
thing. Is like Black Panther was too powerful. So would go this story, right? This particular narrative will continue by saying, look, Black Panther was too powerful. They saw the power, right? And they cannot have a black male image with this type of power.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. But you know, I mean, okay, there's been a few times when black men have broken the racial lines when it comes to like representation and power. First it was Blade, but then obviously the guy didn't pay his taxes or whatever, however that went, and he ended up being chased by IRS
This would be a
for
good
several
story,
years.
throwing slaves off of ships and then nuclear, something in the radioactive stuff in the water, turning a whole bunch of
Yeah,
black.
exactly.
That's a good horror movie. Hey, Falcon Black, that's a good horror flick for you to work on there. You're a creative dude. Maybe you could add some martial arts in there too with the some
But
ninja stuff.
yeah, but I have a question. Obviously, no, we'll get into it because it's related to the conversation. It's all
Okay,
about
well, let's see, ladies and gentlemen, as we lay the groundwork here, okay? We lay the groundwork on one hand, we know that we have racism, okay? On the other hand, there's the question of image and the importance of image, and should you be shifting these things rather than creating new ones, right? Do I go back and rebrand, recolor everybody to fit some kind of diversity, inclusivity narrative, or do I create more in order to fit this diversity and inclusive narrative, right? Maybe I do a little bit of both, or whatever the hell it may be. But let's see what Whoopi Goldberg has to say about this. That's the all-important question, right? I don't know if you know the great philosopher Whoopi Goldberg, Dr. K, but she
you
needs.
know, she was one of the great movie actors when I was a kid from that South
Yeah,
African
she's
movie,
actually
right?
was actually good.
She's a good
That's
actor. Yeah,
for those of you who are too young to ever see Whoopi Goldberg's, like she's
she does
actually
not
good.
not
Yeah.
a great speaker though. You know, all the social politics stuff.
Yeah. No. This is just, and I don't think she's even trying to be like it's you know what I mean? She's no, that's not why she's here on The View. She's here to do her thing.
Times when you see the new Ariel.
Yes.
Because and I don't want to upset any mermaids who are watching the show.
Yes.
Because I know there are many communities of mermaids of various colors. And when I say of various colors, I'm not playing.
Yeah.
There are violet mermaids. There are
Yeah.
pink mermaids. There are black mermaids. There are Latina mermaids. There are mermaids of every ilk. And you know why there can be? because it's the world that we would like to see better.
Yeah.
We would like to see as
Fantasy.
many people represented.
Here come the fake woke
fantasy
applause.
in fantasy as exist.
Right.
So all y'all
Oh yeah,
problems because
yeah,
there
gotta
are
mute
black
when she's
comments,
talking.
get a job.
She said, hey, you're an incel, you have issues, get a job if you're complaining about this because this is about diversity. In other words, she reframed the whole thing saying, mermaids of this ilk, this color, that color over here, this color, all kinds of colors. And this is the world we would like to see. If you're against that, quote unquote, get a job. Now, that is a reframing into this whole particular bucket of diversity. But I don't know. What do you have to say about whatever the hell she says, or this particular bucket of diversity? Is this the place to be playing around with diversity?
I think it is, right? But I think the way it's being done is also kind of annoying, right? Especially to the white people, because I can imagine if you literally make a mermaid story, like an original black mermaid story from Tanzania, where there's actually ancient a lot of laws, etc., going over there. You know, this is this fear. Don't go near the water. You know, a mermaid's gonna pull you down, etc. Then some crazy love story with a genie and a mermaid and slave trade and shit in the Zanzibarian coast. That shit's gonna be good. I have like a little black girl there. Do you not think black people are gonna go watch it? Of course they are. Just create your own narratives. This whole idea of kind of blackwashing. I think blackwashing is not good, right? Because first of all, she doesn't look good. That new actor, she doesn't look good. Some people say she looks like a monkey in those Christians against the Little Mermaid, etc. You know, I just don't think they even cast the right person. They could have found a nice East African with Eurocentric features that looked more, you know, just dark skin, etc. You know, people would have been
Okay,
like,
well, we
okay,
have
okay.
the East African expert here, game changer. So would have Ethiopian worked? You know, an Ethiopian gets thrown off the coast of Djibouti and she became a mermaid. Well, go ahead, game changer. What you got to say?
First of all, I do love Ethiopian Djibouti. I have to compliment it. It's one of the best in the world. However, it's nothing really wrong with Haley Bailey's features. You know, she's slightly less hot than her sister, who Chloe Bailey, but it's nothing really wrong with her features. I don't really see a problem with the Little Mermaid being black. In fact, I don't even know if, and here's the key thing that people are overlooking.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is ever actually hearing the white people complain. I mean, outside of, you know, maybe a few basic trolls, which, you know, they're going to complain about anything, you know, including the earth being round. I mean, outside of that, who's complaining? Like, really, the complaints seem to come from people like Whoopi Goldberg, who's complaining that they're complaining.
Okay.
But they're creating this straw man, this racist white straw man of complaints that probably don't really exist in large number. And even if it did, I doubt that they are actually going to go see The Little Mermaid. No, this is just their way of compensating for the fact of, or trying to make a person feel like if you don't watch this movie, then you are a racist. That's what they're trying to do. That's their promotion for the movie. It's race shaming. Okay. Yeah, exactly. But really, I mean, as far as I know, it's not really a good movie if it's anything like the original Little Mermaid, the animated production. I like Disney movies, especially back when The Little Mermaid came out, and that was never my favorite or anything like that. It was no Aladdin. It was just a basic movie. So
Aladdin was definitely the best of an era. Like, you know, Aladdin was like
Oh yeah. No, Aladdin was the best music, the best, you know, everything. And you know, Pocahontas is good as, but Little Mermaid, nobody really talks about it like, oh, that was my favorite Disney movie. So it's a very basic movie, and they have to try to get as many people as they can get to come. And I guess the way they're gonna do it is say, okay, if you have kids and you don't watch it, you're racist. And if you're black and you have kids and you don't watch it, you're disloyal to your race. So it's a shame tactic. It's not going to work.
Okay. So you've called attention to the fact that this is mainly a smoke and mirrors game by the Complain Industrial Complex. right?
Exactly.
And they're, you know, one side is creating the straw man and the other side fomenting this, that, and the other, right? And that the real racist aspect here is perhaps not even there. That's a smoke and mirrors thing. However, the questions that it raises in terms of, okay, image, and should we be creating our own characters? Like, why, you know, how about this video of you know what, let me share this thing. Okay. And then we'll, Dr. Thunder, by the way, you're just joining us. I think you're out there playing music for the people or something like that. If I'm correct, can we test your audio there?
Rhapsody in
Dr. Thunder?
Blue. Just got finished playing Rhapsody in Blue. Folks should check
Well,
that out.
yeah. And I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay. What do you think about Rhapsody in Blue and Gershwin in general? That what are your real thoughts now that you're done BSing and pretending like you like it on
Well,
stage?
I mean, I'm more of a Duke guy, Duke Ellington. As far as that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean he's a great composer. You have to give him that. I don't know how much I like there's been a lot of theft. You know, a lot of theft, black music, a lot of sort of artistic robbery. You know, Elvis Presley comes to mind. You know, there's a lot of that kind of thing, and you just have to kind of, at one level, be okay with that when listening to certain artists. Also, Gershwin it is said that Gershwin stole one of his compositions, which is a tune called "I Got Rhythm," which is one of the most copied forms. So when you copy a form and write a new melody, that's called a contrafact. And a blues is the most used form for contrafacts. Rhythm changes, the chord changes to "I Got Rhythm" is the second most used contrafact or chord progression for a contrafact. And so it is said that he stole it from a brother.
Well, we stole it from everybody else who stole it from everybody else. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's play a little bit of this, and then we can start with you, Dr. Thunder. Okay. Now we're kind of playing around lightly with the topic here. Okay. And we've heard from Whoopi Goldberg kind of put it in this whole kind of diversity inclusion bucket and say, hey, if you're complaining about it, go get a job. Game Changer alerted us to the fact that I don't really see the people who are complaining anyways. And then there's this whole thing of showing kids, you know, going, oh, she looks like me stuff. Now, people like me, you already know how I'm going to react to it. I throw up a little bit in my mouth. I find it a little bit disgusting. But, you know, I know that, you know, hey, I'm kind of a misanthrope that way. But let's see.
Why can't we see your face?
They're about to show it. Keep watching.
Oh, she's black! Oh my God! Yes!
Do you think that's rehearsed, Game Changer? Oh, you know what? Let's start with Dr. Thunder. Okay. Dr. Thunder, you got a kid. Go ahead. Do you think that was rehearsed?
Yeah, what it shows is that it's either rehearsed or their parents are overly race conscious or something. Like they point out certain things to kids that kids shouldn't actually be thinking about. My vote is probably it's rehearsed. Because if I was to show my son something like that, he would have zero, he would have no, it would have no effect. He would have no, what am I saying? No response. He was like, yeah, and what? So, you know, it would be like that. Unless he had already seen the other, you know, the mermaid, whatever. He had already seen that cartoon from before. Other than that, he would have no response.
And I suspect that if you're seeing the cartoon from before, his reaction is not going to be, yay, she's black. She's going to be like, oh, she's black. Or, I guess she's black now. Or something like that. It'll be a noticing, not some kind of rejoice, hallelujah. Like, what do you know why? So either it was rehearsed, okay, and Dr. K, let's get your reaction to this in terms of is it rehearsed and then go to Game Changer. So it's either it was actually rehearsed or they prepped them in the sense that we had a 20-minute talk, okay, about diversity, inclusion, and showed you a whole bunch of Disney princesses that weren't black. And then I showed you this one, and then you reacted this way. But anyways, Dr. K, what do you have to say about it? And then Game Changer, this particular video, rehearsed or not, any thoughts?
I mean, it's recorded. The kids are there. Of course, it's prepped. This is rehearsed. This is an agenda, and it's obvious. But whether it's real or rehearsed or fake or whatever, it's irrelevant. I think the main point here is they have an agenda, and I want to come back at a point that Game Changer made. I actually do think a lot of whites don't like this, because if you look at the dislike button, it's 1.6 million versus the like button, which is like 500,000. So clearly, majority of whites who see this have some issue in their heart. Whether they express it, that you're gonna say that's the trolls online, and I agree. But in general, I think
if I can interrupt,
Yeah,
interrupt, I want you to embrace the possibility that the movie just sucks. You see, the fact that you accounted the
No, but it's
high
not out yet.
dislike rate,
It's not out yet. This is
or whatever they seen of
Yeah.
it, you know, the
No,
trailer or
it's
whatever they
there's
were.
nothing. It's just literally a
Okay.
black girl. And
Well,
that's
let's
it.
put it
There's
like this.
no.
Let's
There's
put it like
nothing
this. Whatever they were disliking, whether it's a trailer or something like that, perhaps that is a representation of something that sucks. I mean, there is a possibility of that. I mean, we shouldn't just cry racism every time something that sucks gets a low rating because it sucks.
Well, I mean, okay, in general, I would agree. But if you look at the trailer, Ike, you can put it up. They're not showing anything. There isn't any indication if it's good or bad. It's just literally a black girl singing. That's it. So
Perhaps
the
that's why
main-
it sucks. Like if a trailer is supposed to give you, you know, an
Right.
indication of what the movie is about, what the movie is like, and all they show is a black girl singing, that sucks.
So, Game Changer, let me ask you this. Obviously, you're alerting us to the whole plethora of ways in which things could suck, right? And
Right.
you're saying, yeah. And one of the possible ways that is likely here has to do with focusing on a black girl singing and making it seem like this typical woke shit that we're seeing all the time. Are you what would you say about that? That hey, that is a likely suck reason, maybe not direct racism, but what is this woke nonsense? Maybe if you showed me a whole bunch of stuff, plus Ariel is black, that's one thing, but just show me some black girl. This is okay. I'm feeling crowded here. I just came from diversity and inclusion meeting from HR. Okay, I'm tired of this shit. Now this is all hypothetical, but what do you think about that, Game Changer?
No, I mean, it's a possibility either way. I'm just saying, I don't like to rush to the conclusion that people are innately racist, even though I know racists exist. I mean, I doubt that the racists of the world say, you know something, I'm going to go and dislike a Little Mermaid video. I don't think that is, I mean, it's possible, but I think it's more likely that as far as trailers go, it sucks. Now, I never liked or disliked the trailer. So I don't really know the qualifications, but perhaps those that do find that it sucks.
Okay,
There's
so
a
Dr.
point to
K,
your point,
finish up your points, and then Game Changer, I want to hear what you think about this particular video on the screen. Go ahead.
No, you. I think your point was correct, Ike. So I've been following this whole place, and before the Black Manosphere, I used to be part of more of the general anti-woke stuff, right? So generally, all the new movies, Pinocchio, obviously the Marvel movies, Stargirl, whatever, all these movies, especially for Marvel, which is owned by Disney, have been sucking. After Endgame, most of them just suck, right? Black Panther, or whatever it was, and Endgame was one of the last few movies. So all now they have an agenda, a woke agenda, race. The race swapping is also part of it, but more the gender, empowering women and making men seem like the weak.
Let me ask you something here.
So that
before
is
we go to
a
Game Changer.
big
What
part
is
of it.
your perhaps a higher level interpretation of the relationship between the suck and the woke? Because the woke can be used as a way of putting a band-aid over the suck, right? Like I don't have any ideas, so I just create, black people and sell it, right? Or is it some other kind of weirder? Any ideas as to the relationship between the fact that these movies are just starting to suck? Because you can be woke and not suck, right?
No,
So why are we seeing both?
It's very true. I think it's I think that because there are people out there who sucks at making movies. So what they do is they piggyback off existing concept and ideas. And then they use that to perpetuate their woke agenda. So you could see. Here's the thing: if you knew how to write and you were good, you could write your own separate Little Mermaid story, where you have a black Little Mermaid that's not Ariel, that lives in the sea off the coast of Africa. Let's just say I don't know, she's South Mediterranean or something, or she's what's that? The Black Sea, that borders Ethiopia, right? So yeah, so she's from there, and she's part of the mermaid species, just a different region, just like we're part of. They could do that, but that would require a completely different storyline, and it would require clever writing and creativity. You see, I think the best example of this would be Miles Morales. They didn't just take the same existing Spider-Man story and then paint the kid black. No, they made their own Spider-Verse, and it was a very, very, very good movie. Questionably better than the other Spider-Mans out there. So you could do that, but it requires that you actually are good. You can't just take something that somebody else did and then put a black face on it and say, okay, this is this is our thing now. That is part of what would make anything suck. And then you write it in a sucky way.
Anything to add with regards to what Game Changer said there with regards to the combination of both suck and woke, or why they come together, it seems?
Okay, so
Yeah, I have
generally,
something.
okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I have something real quick. It's just lazy. So it's not an issue of, are there people that exist that have the creativity, the talent, the skill to be able to create their own movies that are more centered around Black people, that happen to feature Black people? Certainly they can do that. Okay, there's, but in my estimation, the whole diversity and inclusion stuff is, in my experience, inherently lazy. Because what they do is they claim that they can't find people. I can't find qualified Black people. I can't find Black people that are intelligent and capable. When I seem to have no problem finding these folks, and then you can go back to the fact that brothers with master's degrees, I mean, they've done these studies that show that convicts, white convicts with no degrees, will typically have an easier time getting employed than even brothers with master's degrees. But this is just an example again that there are plenty of Black people that have skills, talent, ability, creativity. We have that stuff growing, just growing out of our ears. The issue is that they're too lazy to actually go out there and find these people. And their current network doesn't happen to be connected to those folks. So they would have to do stuff to locate these people. And that's what I find to be sort of totally disingenuous about, anytime I see these, okay, let's take this movie and now the main character is Black, and then that's our work, that's our effort, towards, proving or showing kids and showing other folks that Black people can do stuff too. What they could do is they could just actually do what they should have been doing in the first place. And actually locating the folks that have the skills and the capability, supporting their talent like they support the talent of anyone else that they use. So
Yes, and it brings the fact
my take on it
to mind that a white woman wrote that Dahomey story. But you are talking about laziness in terms of finding the talent. Game Changer mentioned the laziness, or talk about the laziness of just the writing of that stuff. You're saying it's not just that it's people are unwilling to find. Now, Dr. K, any addition to this, the fact that
just real quick, they don't have to see. The thing is that you don't have to write it yourself. You go find the people that can write it. And so ultimately that's where the laziness is that they won't even do what it takes to go find the people that can do it. I mean, there are so many folks, there's so many people with capability. They're just not willing to do what's necessary to locate these people. Yeah, and yeah, it's already been shown that they themselves lack creativity. They themselves, lack the talent or whatever it is to be able to write new stories. But you don't have to do that. You can go find writers. You can go find other people that have something unique to say. So anyhow.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dr. K.
Yeah. So okay. So in terms of like money and finding the right talent and everything, I think that there's a few things going on here. So I think actually a lot of these people, first of all, they're selecting people for woke reasons, meaning they're selecting women writers, etc. Right? And women writers in general kind of suck.
White women writers.
Right. White women writers. They generally suck. I've seen most of their movies, like Ghostbusters. Right? It would not have mattered.
Are you saying women are not funny?
In general, they're not funny.
Yes.
They're not that great writers because they're not understanding the key concepts of why something is great, right? So anyways, I'm just generalizing that. But the point is, let's say Ghostbusters. That movie was so trash because they think it's funny, but it's just really cringe. So the issue is, it was never the issue that they had all female cast. They would have made that movie is really, really great, but it's just better writing. And when I say writing, because obviously there's two parts. You don't want a really boring movie that's really great writing, right? You want it to be entertaining enough, big budget. So usually they have enough money, like in Marvel movies. They have reasonable actors, but the problem usually is the writing is bad. So in these cases with Disney movies, most of them have sucked. Pinocchio was just a trash. Stargirl, don't even go there, whatever. So the issue is they choose bad writers for diversity reasons instead of choosing good writers for diversity reasons. It's kind of a weird little mix, because I'm sure they're great women writers who are sort of indie.
Yeah, but here's the problem with that. The reason why it tends to happen that way, or a big chunk of the reason, is because the people whom are selecting don't have the eye for.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's say if I were to boost my own self here, we're gonna make a selection, and I wanted diversity and inclusion as my criteria. I would still have the eye for quality and know what a quality writer, person, or in any particular in a field, especially the field which I'm particularly concerned in and working in, I would know how to select for that. But typically, people whom are making these selections, whom also rose through the ranks because of diversity and inclusion,
let me give an example.
Right, are low-level idiots. We all know that the C-suite, upper management of most places are filled with idiots. Okay, this is very true.
They rose through the rank, or they rose through the ranks because of a particular casting couch.
Whoa, look at
right. But I wanted to make a comment there, because there's this new series called the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, right? Amazon spent at least $250 million for this first season on it. The visuals are great. Cinematography, really, the camera at work is not good. The fight scenes, meh. The story, meh. The progression, the writing, terrible. But the point is, right, they had $250 million to do this. There's no excuse. Now, if you look at House of Dragon, right, it's the Game of Thrones spin-off or prequel, the writing is amazing. They have much less money, much lower budget, but it's a really good show. Much better, in my opinion, than Game of Thrones season 1, because it's not boring. So I think it's just they're just not choosing the best writers, because I'm sure Game of Thrones learned those two idiots that finished off this season 6 or whatever. They're like, no, we're not putting these idiots to be writing House of Dragons, at least not to have the main say. So they're learning.
That series was before the winter.
This is like
100 years, 120 some years before. But I actually like the new Lord of the Rings. I think it's pretty consistent with the book. They don't stray from it too much. But then again, they're playing on this. They take something that already exists that has a fan base.
Be right back.
They take something that already exists that has a fan base, like Lord of the Rings. And they take people, and they did the same thing with Star Wars, and they take people who are dedicated to that fan base for granted. They are to that genre for granted. They say, okay, a Star Wars fan is always going to be a Star Wars fan, so I can throw as much woke crap as I want into it, knowing that I could possibly attract a new audience and the old audience is going to be loyal. People like myself are loyal to things like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe I'm biased, and the other brother, he's probably more objective, but I'm could be biased to Lord of the Rings, but I liked it. Or Lord of the Rings, but I liked it. Just seeing Numenor, in live action was worth it to me, in my opinion. But they're taking advantage of the existing loyalty, and that's the only way that a lot of this stuff could exist. Now, to the previous comment that was on the screen about the mermaids being African, I honestly don't know. I was just saying that the first time I heard it, the first time I heard it was Odysseus, and the Battle of Troy was like around 2000 BC, if I'm not mistaken. So
let me just say something on that, and it'll make sense to you, Game Changer. And you can kind of go into the Jordan Peterson, Carl Jung end of things. Animals combined with human beings, or like even combinations of different animals, are kind of ubiquitous all over different cultures, and it doesn't take too much to imagine, right? Like the tree and the snake and the cat combining together in different places, looking like a dragon sometimes, looking like whatever sometimes,
Sure.
So it just kind of happens over and over.
And especially if it's Mediterranean, I mean, that spans 3 continents, so it's it could be anywhere. But I won't deny that it's a strong possibility that it came from Africa. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, in what she was talking about in terms of the Yoruba, the Yoruba people and their mythology, yes, it includes fish people.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm not. Hey, that's not a hill that I want to die on. I'm just saying, like, I think that the movie is disliked because it's disliked primarily, and partly I do think that that we are oversaturated with this woke stuff. That they're shoving it down our throats, and people are vomiting it up now.
Now, Red sings the blues. Okay, we've meandered our way through this topic, beginning with some lighthearted stuff, which we will continue with as we play some TikTok videos here and reactions to that stuff. By the way, I still stand on using that kid stuff, that heartstring stuff. It's quite disgusting. I just hate it. I don't care what it's used for or whatever. It's just kind of cringe. The little girl saying, "She looks like me. She looks like me." Get the fuck out of here. Anyways, Red sings the blues. We're at this particular juncture here now. We're seeing that there's something about you're in the theater, or shall we say, you're in the world of creative stuff, right? So, is it the case that this wokeness tends to go with a lack of being funny? Number one, we kind of notice it that they're very unfunny in the sense that they come after comedians. That's just a very simple point to note there, and then there's a lack of creativity that goes along with it. Okay, from your vantage point, do you see the same things, or why do you think that is, or are we completely wrong there?
Well, I mean, it's various things, right? So what I found out in this whole thing, right, is that, I mean, being in a lot of meetings, being a lot of production meetings with a lot of people, knowing how this whole industry works, the reason why they're doing this, the reason why they are everything comes down to money. Okay, let's be real here. Let's be clear here. Let's end this conversation real quick. Okay, everything comes down to money. Okay, doesn't matter how much somebody makes or loses. It all matters about the money. All right. Now, with the whole Little Mermaid thing, I'm not a part of that. I was not a part of that, but I know a few people that were. Right. And the one thing going from their notes, was that when everybody got into a tizzy about the Little Mermaid, they actually made a lot more money from that. Okay. The main problem with this is the money that it's going to be getting. Now, will it flop? Yes. But Disney, and I want people to understand this, is that Disney, the biggest corporation, the biggest entertainment corporation in the world, can still write this off as a tax write-off. So it does not matter how many shows they do, no matter how many shows that they ruin, doesn't matter at any of that, right? What matters is the money, okay? And that will always matter at the end of the day. All right. Now, with this whole this whole race swapping, I literally am. I was not even interested in that, right? I was like, I don't care. They were going to do this anyway, okay? If anybody was not paying attention to how Disney was in the mid 2000s, then I have to be, the bearer of bad news. They were going down this path anyway. All right. So, for me, it would always go back to how much buzz it's going to get and how much of an advertisement it's going to be. And the one thing that you learn is that sometimes word of mouth is the best way to do it. Okay. And now word of mouth is social media. So you have to keep, that into like a perspective, right? So the psychological aspects of this, which is all psychological, is race swap somebody, people get mad, advertisement, money, profit, people go see the movie, right? And even if it flops, even if it fails, Disney still will make woke, quote unquote woke shit,
Points.
right?
Or gotcha. That is a great marketing strategy, or it's a well-known kind of marketing strategy that
it's content strategy.
You basically like Donald Trump use it. If you get the news to talk about you, you don't have to spend tens of millions of dollars per week on advertising. That's how it's simple. That's how Donald Trump kept himself right there front and center. Just get people talking about you. Don't matter if it's bad or good. Just get him talking. Okay.
Right.
Anyways, we got a super chat here. Thank you very much. Right. That is from J Joe 4040 something like that, 4043 maybe. Anyways, I'll read it the best I can. The same white people having a mayonnaise tantrum. I haven't heard that one before. Okay, over Ariel are the same people whom cheer when Jesus and Egyptians are. Yeah. So this is a good point to transition into the whole image thing, because this comment here, thank you very much again for the super chat, round of applause, is bringing us into the whole kind of image thing of like, okay, people complain about white Jesus or black Jesus and all that kind of stuff. We can start with you now, Dr. Thunder. Is it the case that there should be a focus, let's say, in the black community to create their own? Yes, there are people, you mentioned the laziness, in terms of laziness of people not finding these writers who will create good stuff that are diverse, that are true, original, such and such, right? So how important is that? And, is there something wrong, on the other hand, with blackwashing something and admiring it? Because some people could argue that that is very backwards. That's like worshiping, quote unquote, the white man, that you were waiting for the white man to create a black mermaid, if that makes sense. Like if you don't make it yourself, it's not like until the white man. It's like the same thing with black Jesus. Let's say with black Jesus here, until they are waiting. The people who complain about black Jesus or white Jesus are waiting for the white man to give them black Jesus. Like they're not just content. Like, why don't you just paint your own Jesus black? It's like, no. I want the white man to give me a black Jesus. Otherwise, it's not real. Well, Dr. Thunder, I threw a bunch out there. What you got to say?
Yeah, no, totally. I think that, we are okay. So the black nationalist perspective is for black people to do things themselves, to create our own economic, political, power, to support each other, to create our own stories, our own, industries, our own media, and all of that. And of course, it would be right down that sort of alley to have black folks focus on, having, black creators, be involved in creating our own stories, our own stuff. But it's also, as what you were saying, or it's not also, it's the problem here is we really want the white man to give it to us. We really want the white man. There's two parts to that. One of them is we have been sort of socialized to expect handouts from the white man. So that's the first thing. The second thing is we want the white man to do it because in our mind that would prove, it would be like they're admitting that they were racist. So if they give us a black mermaid, or if they give us a movie with black Jesus, then it'll be as if they are admitting that they were racist all this time, right? So, yeah, but that's I mean, it's all messed up. It's not hard to find, like I said, creative, qualified, overqualified, talented black people. It's not hard to find that, and it's what ticks me, what annoys me about the white liberal, who and all this woke stuff comes from the white liberal. What annoys me about the white liberal is the white liberal pretends as though they don't know that there are these, in abundance, black people that are capable. Um, you know, so anyhow, there you go.
Let's go Dr. K next and then Game Changer here. And we're on this theme of image. Dr. Thunder keeps relating it back to the fact that these people will need to, he's highlighted 2 points. Number one, the white man equals validation. We want the white man to do it, want the white man to fund it, want the white man to create it, want the white man to make a movie with Black Jesus, want the white man to give you a Black Mermaid. Also, that there is this aspect of, just capital productivity, people whom are going to actually do it, and people pretending like not to find these particular people. Okay. And all that underlying all this is the question of image and the importance of image. Any comments there, Dr. K?
Yeah. I think when it comes to validation, it's there is actually a study on validation, but this is coming from more like a relationship aspect in the UK, basically, that black men sometimes actually dating a white woman because of the validation I've got with the white man's daughter. This is like a high achievement than just a black woman, because a black woman is sort of seen as well regular, right? So I think with the whole sort of validation aspect, I think there is an element of I want to be accepted in the global media. The white man controls the global media. So if we are, again, represented there and accepted in a higher self-esteem sort of aspects going there, because even if, let's say, you have Nollywood or Nigerian Mermaid, whatever, it could be the highest produced movie. But in general, if it's not Hollywood, most black people aren't going to relate with it, even if they use an all black American cast. It's just, there's a certain element, not just marketing, but just as in, the dealership. This is the generic one versus the authenticated one.
Yeah, it's a question of models too, right? Not to oversaturate this thing with, but yeah, for the next year and a half, I'm probably going to be oversaturating every conversation with this model concept, right? Basically, that there's always a hierarchy of models, right? And the white one is still above there, okay? And people are looking constantly to the models to see, well, is this real or fake? Like, well, is this the white one, right? And you can't, everyone pretending like it doesn't exist, you're full of shit, right? But anyways, Game Changer, and then Red Sings the Blues.
Well,
Thoughts
okay.
here? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I would say that, and I don't know if England is much different in America in this regard, but I think that the reason why black men date out here is because our women are fat as shit and obnoxious as hell. I think that that is the reason white women tend to work out more and be better mother lovers, basically better women in any way, shape, or form. I don't think it has anything to do with societal brainwashing in that regard. And to the question at hand about the movies, and do we think that they're better? No, I think that people actually, well, one, they're better in the sense that higher production quality because more money. But I think that the reason why they want white men to have hand in it is because they want white people to see it. You see, movies and entertainment in general is a mechanism of brainwashing society. So if black people or if these woke people can brainwash a powerful group of people like the collective of white men, then that would be to their advantage. So I think that that's why they actually that they want this white validation. They're like, okay, we were able to get into the white man's head. We can control now more of their decision making through media. So I think it's more of that than anything.
Yes, it is an echo of the point Dr. Thunder made earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, basically wanting to this kind of get you've gotten into the white man's head now if you're able to do that, right? You got him to do something. Red Sings the Blues. Any comments on either the image thing, the importance of image, the importance of see someone like that is like yourself, and then whom creates that product with that image in it? Is it important and all that kind of stuff?
Well,
And is the white man's eyes colder?
It'll always be colder, man. I'm not. Let's not even. Listen, I work in that. Listen, I work in the shit.
It's like
So
I know who pays my paycheck.
listen, shit.
It's cool as hell.
Shit. Until like, but it doesn't have to be that way. Like, I don't know. It's like people love to talk to me about, oh, the white people are still, they're still controlling the media. I was like, well, technically, it's the white woman that controls the media and all this like stuff about how like white women are more submissive. I'm like, in today's world, I refuse to, because I mean, I don't know how it got there, but I'm just saying to myself, all right, whatever. But no, it doesn't have to be that way. There are different, but the thing about what Dr. Thunder said about how black people want, that image of them by a white man. Yeah, that is definitely true. I agree with that. Now, there are lots of black people in this industry that have walked away from this industry, and I personally applaud them for doing it on their own, who have done it on their own. Not saying that there aren't. They're just not talked about. All right. Now, with that being said, the new one out there is Eric July, Young Ripper 59. Shout out to him in the Ripperverse. That's coming out, and I'm very excited for that. Mainly because if you really like everybody here talking about, oh my God, woke this, woke that, woke this, woke that. And I'm saying here is like, all right, so are you tired of that? Okay, because I'm literally like tired of having these like, circle jerk conversations about how woke something is. So what are we going to do about it? Take my money elsewhere. As a consumer, I would take my money elsewhere and invest it in something else, right? Because now it's the start of what we would call the entertainment renaissance, where people are actually using these platforms, right? Like YouTube and all these other social media platforms that we have, and creating stuff that is outside of the realm of Hollywood, Broadway, wherever you want to call it, the comic book industry, video game industry. So I mean, it's up to the consumer now, but however, there's always going to be, because there's always going to be, consumer loyalty, right? Which I do agree with Game Changer with, right? Yeah, there's always going to be that stuff, because again, people have grown up with corporations. All they see is brand names, right? You've been programmed at an early age to see brands, okay, to see logos and all that other stuff, who it was made by, right? But if you get yourself out of that, maybe, just maybe, you'll see a bigger world out there, and a small world in which there are actual content creators that are actually building themselves up and not needing the, backs of Hollywood or the entertainment industry. It does happen, but it's a very long and slow process. But if you can get donors into that, then you got something, okay? Because I think everybody's got to look at the Eric July stuff that's happening right now, right? The Ripperverse stuff, right? Because if you're not looking at that, that is a precursor to what, everybody should be following. If they really want this, right? If they don't want to see any woke stuff, put it in a new monopoly, okay? That's what you have to do. But keep going.
Very good, very good. A new monopoly. And Game Changer, before we play this a little bit more of this video, I want to ask you a question here. You mentioned you don't mind Ariel being black. Well, no qualms there. Now there's the question of I know you talk about TV and its power to brainwash, and you think that the black community perhaps is overly influenced by television. You give out statistics out there to show that indeed they watch more television and whatnot. So what they're watching perhaps will be important, right? So the question is to you, Game Changer, is this Ariel feminine? And if you get my point, right? So if the black girls are watching these stuff and like, oh, she looks like me, and Ariel is the model of what Game Changer wants black girls to be emulating, any comments about that? See what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I see where you're going. Hopefully she is feminine. I mean, typically when they do introduce wokeness into anything, they tend to empower the woman. That's part of being woke, so she may, it's possible that she may not be the same Ariel that we remember. The innocent,
the original Ariel was hyper feminine, and this is like she wanted her white man, and she would sacrifice whatever to go do whatever, and so
Well,
This one's
she
probably
was
gonna like flip the script a little bit.
exactly. She was sweet, naive. She was innocent. So these are qualities that they rarely attribute to black women. In fact, they do the opposite. So they might have changed the personality of Ariel with it. But if not, yeah, that would be a plus for
Mhm.
influencing sisters in the right way, and probably within the next generation have a legitimate soft girl era. But notice how and the empowered personality that I'm speaking of can be best seen in the Frog Princess.
Mm.
She was definitely an empowered black woman, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It was a more of an equality relationship versus a woman who tends to her natural hair and waits for a prince to climb up her hair, or a woman who could pull a high value prince in her sleep, literally. Shout out to Snow White. Or a woman who is a peasant girl, but she looked good in those glass slippers. Like, I mean, these are actual feminine women, but the black one wasn't. So typically, when they add woke to it, a whole bunch of other crap comes along.
Mm.
Why can't we see your face?
They're about to show it. Keep watching.
Oh, she's black! Oh my god! Yes, 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 yes! Oh my god!
Why is the boy? Why is the boy the most excited?
Oh my god! Yes! The black mermaid! Let's go. Oh my god!
Well, yeah, that definitely seems
You know the boy
fake.
doesn't care. You know that boy doesn't.
Yeah.
Why is he the most excited?
Well,
That
I
is
mean,
yeah.
it's definitely fake. I mean, because this is not the only black character that
Yeah, it's
exists
like
in
there's
the
so many.
cartoon world. Yeah, I mean, they act like they just seen, like a black Santa Claus or something, even
This is
though,
1942 or something.
yeah, it's very, yeah, it's obviously fake. I mean, but they and these are people.
Go ahead.
Well, these are people who probably don't really care either. They're just promoting it to try to get Disney to continue down this path. Like, okay, if you want 13% ticket sales, like these kids wouldn't have watched it if it was white. Like, it's really weird.
Okay, so Dr. K, you were the one that started us on this aspect of you. Well, you and Dr. Thunder, the aspect of actually producing something, right? Not just having the talent, but so on and so on. And forget who watches it, because I think Game Changer makes a good point in the sense that people are tribalistic, and if you're trying to influence people, you want to influence white people. In this case, in this particular context, they are the majority and such and such and such. So if you start doing black stuff, maybe you'll get a lot of numbers. But I'm trying to get in the white man's head because that's that's where the money is, or whatever it may be. But and then Red Sings the Blues talks about this way of moving into a new monopoly. You see people talking about it all the time in terms of, hey, YouTube is censoring me, Patreon is censoring me, I'm gonna go create my own. Jordan Peterson is gonna create his own. Dave Rubin is gonna create his own. What do you think about those types of projects? I like the word monopoly that Red Sings the Blues uses because it's gonna need to be. You can't have all this kind of. There's certain areas where competition is not it doesn't work. You can't have 1,000 YouTubes. It doesn't no, maximum 2 or maybe 1.5, right? Because people are not just gonna play that game of going to 1,000 different places to watch shit, right? Dr. K, comment on this, the actual brass tacks doing of any of these kinds of things, what you think about the feasibility of any of these projects, lessons to be learned from any of the ones that you may have followed, whether it be Dave Rubin or Jordan Peterson, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, shout out. I from my own personal opinion, I think it really does depend who does it, and also sort of how they maintain it, right? Because you're gonna have all these YouTube, whatever alternatives going out there. Only a few of them do what YouTube is doing, and again, if you just follow the basics, for example, having a very easy, simplified, good design. Some of them just look ugly, to be honest. I've looked at Jordan Peterson's one, Think Spot. It just doesn't look that attractive. In fact, it looks like it's been designed by a 5-year-old, Chinese kid somewhere. It just doesn't look good. I don't really see that many people using it unless they change and fix that aesthetics issue. So that's one. And I think obviously, if you want them to succeed across time, you have to get the normies, because normies are the ones that actually push these platforms. It's not the manosphere, it's not the intellectual sphere, it's just normal people watching cat videos that push this platform where it is. Now it's live streamed by just normal people, as well as the greats like Joe Rogan. But the point is, you have to make it attractive to the other people at the same time, making it attractive to, let's say, the unique people. So an example here, right? They don't have to do what YouTube is doing, where they're just censoring anyone they don't like with their agenda. What they could do is they could create the other alternative spheres to have censorship, selective censorship, meaning people can still do what they do, but that stuff is only going to go towards a certain kind of demographic, if that makes sense. So it can kind of create two different worlds. People can just live in their own worlds. Because if you now start to just make your own little cool, edgy, intellectual space, no one's going to use it, right? Because there's just not enough of the nodes to connect and build a proper network.
Makes sense. And network effects are the reason why these things are so deeply entrenched. And it's like, let me just kind of say something about network effects, and then I want to ask Red Sings the Blues if you can explain a little bit more about that thing you mentioned, right? Because I don't know about what you were talking about. There's that new monopolies type stuff. But network effects is why you can have such a thing as Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is about to go out and it becomes something else, or maybe that dispersed. But one might think, if you just come from Mars and you're like, well, why is it this place? All these companies are coming out of this place and they're there. Like, it doesn't seem to make sense. I mean, there's human beings everywhere. Is there something in the water? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, it's not in the water. It's not in the air. It's not in any special conditions in that particular area. It's simply network effects. Is somebody started something, okay, coming from a particular university. In this case, it was Bill Gates and that crew at that time, okay? And then now you have this kind of relationship between Stanford, a university in the Bay Area, and that particular community of entrepreneurs. It kind of facilitating each other there, and you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to take this thing and then move it to Houston. So even if coming from Mars, you might think, why can't I do that? It's because of network effects. Same reason why things like YouTube and Facebook are so difficult to overthrow. Now, Red Sings the Blues, what were you talking about in terms of a new platform, anti-woke or whatever it may be, something recent?
I said, well, okay. I mean, everybody now wants to ask me about that. Okay, so here's how it goes, right? Everybody likes to talk about woke shit all the time, right? Listen, I'm not going to sit here and knock, your money. I'm not going to sit here and do that. There's a market for that, right? Just the same as, there's a market for everything, right? So with that being said, right, I personally am not interested in The Little Mermaid. I just like having these sorts of conversations because it goes back to the same thing in which I've been trying to tell people, which is go away, right? Let the normies have that, right? The Ariel being black, I don't care, right? Let the little black girls have it. The little white girls are gonna go see it too because they're liberal as well. Okay, the white Karens, they're gonna watch that shit. They're gonna eat that up and all that. Like let them have that. Okay, listen. All the monopolies in which you like, okay, you see, like I said, you're psychologically programmed to know brands, to know names, to know who made this, who made that, right? But the thing you're not looking at is the statistics of everything, right? Because Hollywood is, I would say, like a Wall Street, right? There are stocks to be had. There are stocks that are being bought and sold, right? There are dozens of people in said stock because we all know that China is in the stock of Hollywood, right? Because there's a lot of shit that gets, revamped and redone for Chinese entertainment, right? Because China does not like Black Little Mermaid. They didn't even like the Black Star Wars. They didn't like that shit, right? So let's be clear here, right? There is a monopoly in Hollywood. Now, people keep that shit going. Hence, this whole conversation in which we're having right now, you're still keeping that shit going, okay? And but you know what? It's fine. It's funny. I personally just love when people love to talk to me about, oh my God, shit's so woke now. It's so woke. And I say, well, here's an alternative. I don't really know that alternative. You want to know why? Because all people know are brands, names of directors and star directors. Let me tell you something right now. If you did not know who was making this movie or the brand of the corporation that was making this movie, nobody would give a shit, right? But now you're gonna have to, like, people now have a choice, right? As a consumer, right? I say this all the time to people. Okay, there are dozens of people coming out with shit right now that is actually doing well. Hence Eric July's comic book company, The Rippaverse, right? People are fucking tired of all the what was it? All the woke shit in comic books. So what did Eric July do? He made his own comics. Everybody who was also independent kind of, said, oh, F Eric July, all that other stuff, because again, he comes from the Blaze and all that. But in hindsight, if you look at Eric's company, he literally says, I am only here to make comic books and entertain people. That's what people actually want more of. People want to be entertained. Okay.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with entertainment. People just want to be entertained, right? They don't want to be preached to, right? But now there are people coming out with their own stuff, right? That and this is what I also say to my people on my channel, right? If you don't want to see this, right, then there ultimately and unfortunately has to be a monopoly of a corporation or lack thereof that makes more of the thing that you want to be entertained, right? So with that being said, all right, the renaissance in which I'm talking about is, and it's slowly happening. People getting tired of all the woke stuff, all this other stuff, and even for me, I'm just like, I'm not interested, right? Every time when somebody emails me about, oh, did you see this this trailer of this new show, this new movie? I'm like, I don't care, right? I really don't care. Why? Because I'm already putting my money into alternatives. Hell, I'm doing that myself. I'm learning the business and I'm doing my own thing on the side. So I really don't have time to literally look at this and get angry that, well, it is what it is. Okay. But also what I'm getting from this whole conversation is that people still live in the past, right? People still want that nostalgia of Ariel being a cartoon white ginger, whatever the hell she is, mermaid or whatever. And I'm just saying here, like, okay, so people are nostalgic, right? People want what they want. I'm a nostalgic person myself, but knowing how today's world is, you're gonna have to be realistic, right? If you don't want to see something, if you don't like it, don't watch it. All right. So with that,
You know what? You said something there, which is about
he's basically saying vote with your feet. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm gonna ask you. We react to that, Dr. Thunder, and then and then Game Changer, right? Because Dr. K started out with the fact that, hey, you're making subpar product, improve the product, maybe people will go. But then you, Red Sings and Blues, are pointing out the fact that there's always going to be the normies thing, which is the stuff that Dr. K first said, and you should leave the normie stuff for the normies, okay?
Yeah,
and also you talk about breaking things up, like in terms of, like, let's say different stocks, different people, different production houses. Let's say, like, know the companies, know the people, know the directors, blah blah blah, rather than only just know this one thing, right? And then vote with your feet, your dollars, your fall, all those type of thing, and let's decentralize this thing a little bit. And obviously, just my particular observation, I think it will be obvious that the normies will still be the biggest chunk, right? But that's fine. But you go ahead and vote with your feet, such and such and such. So, Dr. Thunder, any reactions to this? Because it's not a question of one monopoly coming out, removing the other monopoly necessarily, but maybe rather than complain in the monopoly house here with the normies, why don't you just go and either start your thing? Shout out to Ramil. Right now, he just does the ads on his channel, but he routes you to Uncut Underground, which is his channel, his website, to watch the videos. Anyways, Dr. Thunder, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I think the reason that you have conversations on these topics is to the extent that this stuff is sort of encroaching on the, Overton window, the public square, as it were, the part of the public, discourse that everyone is supposed to have a share of. I pay taxes, you pay taxes, everyone else pays taxes. And to the extent that they do, to the extent that the government and other folks that are using public funds to produce messaging are doing so, and it's presenting material that is against my own perspective or against someone else's own perspective, whatever it is, that will be a reason to have a conversation on this topic. As far as actually doing something about it, I think that's when the whole voting with your feet stuff, that's when that comes in. So for instance, the Buzz Lightyear movie, and my son keeps asking me, why won't you let me watch this movie? Well, the reason that I don't want him to watch the movie is because there's a scene in the movie. It's a same sex kiss in the movie, and that's just not something that I want my son, you know, to see. And so he keeps asking me, why can't I see it? I said, well, you're just not going to see it because I don't want to support that, and also because it has something in there that I don't want you to deal with. And and that's kind of rough from his perspective because all of his friends, or a lot of his friends, have seen the movie. But I've just decided that that's not something that I'm going to support. We can also do the same thing with this movie. We could say, you know what, I don't support this approach to supposedly normalizing black people, or whatever their the movie makers' reasons are. I don't support that approach to this. I support this other approach to fixing this problem. And so I'm going to put my money in that other approach. And that's something that I've done for quite a while. But it takes time, and it takes a critical mass of folks. I think one thing that's a positive about spaces like the Black Manosphere is because you actually have a lot of people in the space that are doing that, and or are open to taking some of these other approaches, using some of these other approaches to addressing these issues. So
100%. So Game Changer, any ideas on this or anything that you have done recently? Because, for example, even on something like Locals, right? There's someone who's it's not like a kind of out there outlier, but not a particularly mainstream creator. He started a Locals page because I liked his stuff a lot. I actually then subscribed to him. Like, a lot of this happened during 2020 lockdown time. I actually did a lot of shifting of this particular regard from the decentralized stuff to subscribe to other people's things like Locals and whatnot. Patreon was also kind of heavy during that period, but Game Changer. Okay. With regard to your particular, because I think, maybe wrong, but you focus on media and its influence a lot. Now, what are your thoughts here? Voting with your feet, should more people be doing that? Is there a lot of complaining and not acting going on? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that the people who are complaining about that, it's not really a matter of them watching it, especially if they're a childless adult or their kids watching. I think that the complaints is that the other children are watching it, and they in turn influence their children. So, even if that's not the case, for one, Dr. Thunder shouldn't go through the situation where his son feels isolated, or your son feels like an outcast. However, if the movie didn't exist, he wouldn't feel that way to begin with. So there's definitely a there. I don't think that a person is wrong for lashing out against that, because they live in a society that's forcing people like Dr. Thunder's son to feel like an outcast. So that's definitely a problem, especially since the other kids will see it and talk about it, and he won't be privy to that. So I think that people just don't like that a culture is being influenced in a negative way. Now, it's not really to say that Ariel in this particular case is like a major concern with it. Okay, here's the thing. Here's why I think it's a big issue, because it really wasn't in the past. And that is because things like this was did before. However, it was for Black people. Like, if you look at the first instance that I've seen of this, and us native-born American Blacks will understand, the movie The Wiz. The movie The Wiz, I think that was by Berry Gordy, and it had Michael Jackson in it. And it was a Black adaptation to The Wizard of Oz, and it was great. It was The Wizard of Oz for Black people. And however, it was marketed to Black people. It wasn't marketed to white people in lieu of the the Wizard of Oz. It wasn't meant to replace the Wizard of Oz. It was just meant to have something separate for Black people to relate to. This is a lot different because this is supposedly marketed to both white and Black children. So this is their attempt to influence a greater society.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Wiz was killing because was great because it's all like original music, and it's like the best artist. The production is killing. Okay, what this is like is it's like presenting a now I know a lot of Black opera singers that are really great, but it's almost like just basically having a Black opera singer, knowing that the opera hasn't changed. It's not a different opera.
Mm-hmm.
It's not new music. It's not music that is done in a
Mm-hmm.
particular aesthetic. And so then it makes sense that the person is Black that's singing it. No, it's just basically putting a Black person up there and still doing everything the same. That's probably part of the reason why this sort of rubs me the wrong way, because if they had spent like significant money, like really retooling and stuff, because listen to the song. Even the song that was sang in the beginning, it's not particularly like a Black aesthetic. It's just a Black singer that, a Black actress, singing the same songs that would have been in the movie anyway. So anyhow.
So let's kind of close out this way, starting with Dr. K, because one of the interesting aspects of this is it seems like everyone here does have a particular, we have an appreciation for aesthetics. We have a particular view as to the world of creativity, art, or in general, what goes on behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, right? We know what we like and what we don't like, right? Generally speaking, propaganda and art is the general kind of one of the very basic rudimentary dimensions that I like to kind of point out, which is art versus propaganda. There is one that inspires you and is timeless about it. There's something timeless about it. You imagine some picture that's inspirational, that, it's an artistic picture. It could be a mountain, could be whatever. It's timeless. It's not bound in space and this and that. And it's not a billboard with a symbol, with a brand telling you what to do right now or something like that, which would be the other end, propaganda. Now, Dr. K, any particular, and also closing thoughts, this goes out to everyone, starting with Dr. K. What are the things that you would recommend that, hey, maybe people listen to normie music, maybe you want to try this. You're watching this type of stuff, maybe you want to try this. You're going to watch the next silly little Hollywood production. Have you checked out this director? So starting with Dr. K and then Red Sings the Blues, Dr. Thunder, and Game Changer, along with your closing thoughts, any recommendations out there in the world of art, aesthetics, creativity?
All right. So you just to get it correct, you ask telling me to give suggestions to the people listening, or?
Yeah, not too weird. We don't want to hear all about all the craziness in your closet, or of you coming out of the closet or anything of that nature. But recommendations and your closing thoughts.
All right. Okay, good. Now, if you kind of want good writing, suspense, thriller, into drug, and all that kind of stuff, Top Boy is great. Top Boy is a UK TV series, one of the best series I've ever seen, man. The acting is great, direction is great, writing is on top. If you're looking more like an American,
I'm watching that series right now. That's 100%.
Freaking weirdos.
Right. So yeah, something like Top Boy. If you want more like a psychological thriller, again, Luther, acted by Idris Elba, right? Great TV series as well. At least the first 2 series were good. I kind of didn't watch season 3. It got too psychological for me. But yeah, that's pretty good. Now, if you want something fun, like indie, maybe Red Sings Blue might like it. It's something like Mo. It's a new series that just came out. It's about like is it Egyptian? No. I think Lebanese or something. Brother out there trying to make it in life. He's still an immigrant and all that kind of trying to survive in America. It's kind of funny. It's got that nice humor that's not in your face slapstick, but it still makes you laugh. Like, just the situations. The whole thing is just crazy, right? Now, if you want something like, let's say, American series that I think are pretty good, House of Dragon is great, really well written, enough money, looks visually exciting as well. There's also Breaking Bad, although that's kind of not everyone's aesthetics. It's a little, there's no music. It's just all kind of weird, like awkward conversations and all that kind of stuff. But Breaking Bad's great. Ozark, another one. It's about a guy who like it's laundering money for the cartel, and then his partner steals the money, and then his family's kind of sent into this crazy place where they have to launder more money or they're gonna get killed. Pretty good sort of concepts. Yeah, if you like those kind of stuff, those are great. But I generally, don't expand too far out of that genre. But if you want action, a great movie, that series that came out this year was what's the name of it? Terminal List. It's just crazy toxic masculinity at its best, right? The guy just goes there, wants to kill everyone on his list, and there's no he tortures them. It's just perfect. There's no forgiveness or don't kill the bad. No. These guys killed your whole team in Iraq, and they set you up, kill every single one of them on that list. Yeah, so I love that classic toxic masculinity, man. That was great.
All right. So Red Sings the Blues. Any recommendations and also your final thoughts? You muted or am I tripping?
All right, sorry about that. Yeah, I was muted. All right, cool. So, basically what I said before, right? I said if you don't like woke, don't watch woke. Put your money in go research other people that are making content that is up your alley, and go into that sort of realm of putting your money where your mouth is, okay, and or make it your own, which is what a lot of people are doing, right? Now, my closing thoughts are, am I really going to sit here and be surprised that The Little Mermaid is doing this? No. Am I surprised that Disney is doing this? No. Am I going to be mad about it? No. Am I going to slap the hand of Disney and or smack the money out of Disney's pocket? No, because that's going to be hard enough to do. Okay. And with that being said, I said, like I've been saying it, I'm gonna say it 10,000 more times. Walk away from these. If you don't like Hollywood, walk away from it. Put your money in something else. Okay, because I know it's hard for people. I know people want to relive the good old days and all that other stuff, but Disney, along with other entertainment corporations, have already told you that they're not going back. Okay, they get way too much money from different activist corporate like they're activists literally in these entertainment corporations. Okay, they're LGBT, Black Lives Matter, all these other people, right? They're in these corporations and you cannot get them out. All right, but if you don't like them, like I've been saying before, get that listen, I'm getting that money, saving that money and putting it into my own thing. Okay, because that's how we're gonna have to do it now. All right, let them have it, let it go, let it sink, let it do it. Okay, I'm not waiting anymore. All right, we're past that. Now it's time to make our own and leave that to them. Okay, I understand that it's this whole like the word I'm looking for is what is it? Fear of missing out. That is it. There's a fear of missing out within both sides, right? The people that want to watch stuff like what Dr. Thunder's son, and then the people that want to get on it and make views and clicks and likes with that sort of stuff. Me, I only have to do one video on it and tell you exactly how I feel about it and the solutions that I have for you. Now, with that being said, I'm done with that. You know what I'm saying?
100%, ladies and
I will see
gentlemen.
you guys tomorrow. I mean, I will see you guys whenever I do.
Yeah, whenever you do, and definitely check out Red Sings the Blues. Always a pleasure. Word 'em up, Dr. Thunder, and then Game Changer. Any weird things you're watching or recommend? It could be, wherever you would like to take it artistically.
Yeah,
And your closing thoughts.
Yeah, let Game Changer go first. Let him go first.
Go ahead, Game Changer.
The Orville is something that I watch. Maybe somebody consider it weird. I think it's well written. Let's see. Another thing is Cobra Kai. Watch that. There was something I seen on Netflix not too long ago. It takes place in England, about a court trial about a guy who appears to have committed murder. Thought that was pretty good. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah. And of course, Lord of the Rings and this new House of Dragons series, I think is pretty good. But outside of that, don't really watch much. Now, as far as situations like this this Little Mermaid situation, listen, one of two things is going on. One, it's almost a complete replica of the original cartoon Little Mermaid, just with a black face, and that's not good. Um, that means it's nothing like The Wiz, which was to me an improvement on what was existing. But if they made Little Mermaid exactly the same, then that would be a good reason to dislike it. And then another thing is that they remade it in a very bad way. That's another possibility that would cause a lot of people to dislike the movie. If you take a classic movie, but you alter the storyline and the gender, or excuse me, and the race of the characters in such a bad way that the movie wind up sucking, then you lost on that front. The only way you can do this right is if it was rewritten like The Wiz in a very, very, very good way. I think that would be a way out of this quagmire, but that's a very difficult formula to accomplish.
Nothing succeeds like success, right? Like, oh, you know what would be good if we just did it in a very good way. Yeah, but I'm not coming for you, Game Changer, but that is funny.
Yeah.
That's
No,
one of
no,
those
it's true. I mean,
Changerisms.
well,
But- yeah, go ahead.
no, even though it's stating the obvious, like a good movie would be good. I mean, I think that the race change kind of made it difficult for them to make the same movie.
It is one of the things that I maybe my perspective, but that's one of the things that you do in terms of your particular brand of humor is that kind of stating of the obvious, where you
Mhm.
say, "You know what would be good about this? Do you know what would be good about this?" And then you.
Yeah.
Anyways, Dr. Thunder, what are your closing thoughts here and any recommendations, and also what you got coming on Thursday, Thunder's thoughts and whatnot. Your car Thunder.
Yeah. So, couple things. So, we've been talking about Marvel and how Marvel is becoming more and more woke. I'll tell you, I had to stop watching. I had to stop watching DC, especially the stuff on the what is it? What is it on the what is it on the CW or whatever? I had to stop watching all those series, which I really liked. Arrow, what is it? Flash, Supergirl, um, uh, what is it? I can't remember. Heroes of Tomorrow or something. Legends of Tomorrow or something. I had to stop watching those series because they were so blatant and overt with the, SJW stuff and the social reengineering, that it just became so distasteful. And the thing is that one of my favorite film scorers, Blake Neely, he film scored all of those movies, and so the score is killing. It's really great. I mean, and it's incredible that he's been able to produce so much music, because each one of those episodes is like, what is it, 42, 43 minutes, because you got the commercials or whatever. They're an hour show, and so but it's like 42, 43 minutes or something per episode, and it's packed like from the beginning to end. The score never ends. It's like through composed. There's a few places where there's silence, but for the most part there's music happening, and there's so many action sequences in those shows. I mean, so it's amazing that the quality of the score, given the just sheer number of episodes, and so it makes me sad that I just couldn't stomach it anymore. I had to stop watching. But that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to say, look, this messaging is not positive. It's not good for family. It's not good for at least the way that we would like society to be. And so you just have to say, I'm stepping away from that. There was a series on, I can't think of the name of the series, but my son was watching, it was on Netflix, and it's one of these. So, there's a lot of parental controls on Netflix, which I like it for that.
Mhm.
So, so so I think I have him set at like anything that's for 7-year-olds and under, or something like that. He can watch freely. Okay. Now, one of these shows that was for 7-year-olds and under was a show where the girl, the character, and she's some sort of adventurer or whatever. It's a cartoon. She's got 2 dads. Okay. Now, I saw that in one of the episodes. I didn't say anything to my son about it. We happened to be watching it together. And I went in, and you can go in and you can block specific titles. So I went in and I blocked that title. And so that's what you have to do. You have to be, parents have to be aware of this stuff. You got to know what's going on. And I prefer the kinds of streaming platforms that support all of those controls. So parents can actually control what titles they're, not just what the rating is, because they are monkeying around with the ratings. They will they'll slide all kind of stuff that is way too mature for little kids in shows. So anyhow, so yeah, I just I try to, be aware of what's going on. Of course, I have to be aware as a parent. And then, I'm just going to support the stuff that I think is worthy, and for the reasons that I think are good reasons. That's kind of where we are. And this whole thing of like, we're not going to be able to prevent, the greater society or whatever, or not just the greater society. We're not going to be able to prevent certain companies from producing certain kind of material. That is true.
Mm.
But if enough of us step up and say, we're not taking any more of this, we're not going to spend any money. I found out about the Buzz Lightyear thing. That meant that we're spending $0. We're spending zero on Buzz Lightyear. That it's not happening.
Well,
Right?
hold on a second
So-
though. But if you're spending other Disney money, does it matter if you just
Well, it does because
Okay,
so for
okay.
instance,
okay? I get you.
this is how it matters. This is how it matters. They keep track of who's streaming what.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so like I have Disney Plus. We've got Disney Plus, and there's stuff on there that we watch, and then there's stuff on there that we don't watch. Right, and so they know what stuff is getting watched and what stuff is not getting watched. So if they're paying attention, they'll get that feedback. And then also, if people are actually voting with their feet instead of complaining about it, like Red was saying, but then still supporting the industry that you're complaining about, and then trying to get basically the white man to carry our water for us, that's never going to happen. And we shouldn't want that to happen. I don't personally, I don't want that to happen. If that was the way that we achieved a certain level of prosperity, I wouldn't want it. I'm serious. I wouldn't want it. I want us to be able to do it for ourselves, because that's where it really matters. Okay, well, as far as Thunder's thoughts on Thursday, well, first of all, actually, before that, you and I have our show on Wednesday, and we're going to do, I guess it's going to be a part 2. I think we got started a really
Yeah, part 2
interesting
on
conversation.
yeah. We started a good conversation about race and tests. The racism of tests and the racism of test taking, I believe. Oh, am I wrong? No.
That
2 weeks ago.
I think we concluded that conversation.
Oh,
and then
yeah,
we started
gotcha.
one about what was it, from 0 to 1?
Oh, yes, exactly. From 0 to 1. Yes, and yeah, that's a good one. So we'll continue it on Wednesday. That's the one about starting something new, not copying people, understanding where your desires come from, not getting stuck in unnecessary competition as a result of trying to keep up with the Joneses and the mechanism by which all that works. Yes, yes, yes. I remember now.
Yeah, heck of it seems quite pertinent to the conversation we just had today, actually.
True.
Uh,
That is true.
yeah, yeah. So that's Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Ike's channel, and then on Thursday, Thunder's Thoughts. That'll be 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, of course, on my channel. I think what that show is going to be, I haven't gone 100% on this, but I think what the show is going to be is, you know, shout out to CGA. He's been shouting me out on his channel, and
Oh, he keeps
appreciate
shouting you
that.
out, huh?
Yeah, he's been shouting me
You
out.
paying the
Appreciate
money
that.
under the table. Come clean with us. You could. It's all family here.
Yeah. So anyhow, he did a really, I think a really well done sort of history of sort of R&B. Now his interest is in all of the simping, the gumping topics, and how unhealthy, especially listening to that music is, especially for men. But he went into really great detail, and so basically, his first sort of 20-minute segment, I want to do a deep dive and play it back slow. And so I'm thinking this Thursday's Thunder's Thoughts will likely be basically reviewing his take on that. I think there's a lot that he presents, and I think that there's more information in more detail for many of the topics that he raised, which I think will be interesting, engaging, and all that. So people can come check that out. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Case Closed will actually be on my channel this coming Sunday. I've had a few Sundays in a row on your channel, but we'll be on my channel this time, and we'll have a thought-provoking, conversation. I don't know. Maybe we can talk about what is it? This will be like ancient history by the time this next Sunday comes around. But the whole the Umar Cynthia G thing, but maybe do it from a different perspective.
Oh, gotcha.
More of like a sort of the proliferation of the divester propaganda, as it were. That kind of maybe some kind of topic related to that.
So you have this whole thing about A plus B equals divestment, right? Do I have the formula correct?
Yeah. I say
Yeah.
multiculturalism plus deregulated dating market equals divestment.
Yeah. So the way I kind of think about these things, and I'm just thinking out loud right now, right?
Yeah.
So if one had, these crazy people like Hegel and Marx that have the kind of idea of like this plus that equals this, and then they try to show how the mechanisms by which it'll occur. Like, okay, first this will happen, and then this will happen, and then Cynthia G is now out. So what phase? What phase are we in? And then what comes after this phase? Anyways, I was just that
yeah,
kind of
she's openly she has been openly advocating for what she calls selective breeding. That's when you find out that it's a male child, and you abort it. That's what she calls selective breeding.
a black male child. You got to make it. It's
Right,
gotta be black.
right. Well, she's
Can't
talking
go
to black women.
aborting
Yeah, but her
white Jesus
whole
stuff.
platform. Yeah, but her whole platform is talking to black women. She's trying to get them to divest and all that, and but all of the neo-Nazi talking points, all of the clear, like overtly racist stuff. I mean, a lot of the stuff that's being said, it is, the thing with stuff that's on the fringe is it will become part of the mainstream. And this divester rhetoric has become part of the mainstream. To a point that BGS was making, because some people were saying that in that sort of exchange on Fox Soul between Cynthia G and Umar on that panel, that somehow it was a loss, but actually it was a win because Cynthia G and Umar they both come from the Black conscious community. And so in the Black conscious community, the men in that community in particular have really been hands off on Black women, have not said, one derogatory word. It's always queens and, goddess of the earth. And, it's always this kind of stuff. But the thing is that with the way that conversation went down and how she tried to go after him, it may actually wake up a segment of this Black conscious community because of the prominence of Umar. And yeah, so so it could actually be a positive thing. Like more people are like, this woman really, man, she hates Black men. Why does she hate them so much? Who hurt you?
It's not. Who hurt you? Who hurt you? Oh, yeah. It's interesting. It's interesting because it's not hard to the question you ask is interesting, right? And I want to kind of go off now and start saying, because one could say it's not hard to hate black men, right? I don't know, like not because in any particular group that you want to hate, right? It's not hard to fucking hate them, right? And more so, especially a group that you're kind of sort of part of or we're close to. Oh yeah, that's where the real hatred is. And I mean, what's her name? Cynthia G, right? She might as well. She could be Dr. K, calling Black men low IQ and all that kind of stuff. Why does he hate Black men so much? But anyway, so shout out, ladies and gentlemen. This was another good, lively conversation talking about, hey, is it all racism? Is it all just people don't want to change stuff, or is it more about just marketing and money and everything, which is at the end of the day what it tends to be about? And until next time, we are out.
Peace.
In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what's a pity? Tomorrow never certain, what was behind the curtain? The face of evil lurking, with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.